Okay, so on today's Invest in Yourself, what we're going to talk about is the three most important things in real estate. Make offers, make offers, make offers, as Todd just mentioned a minute ago. And you're going to hear from myself, Randolph, Bill, Paul, and Nathan. And we're going to talk about making offers because that's the three most important things in real estate. So there's a lot of different ways you can make offers. There's some types of properties or property sources where you literally have to submit it online, like Hubzu is one, right?
That's right.
And as we all know, HUD is one as well. If you follow me, you know that we're big HUD buyers, okay? So we're big HUD advocates. So HUD, you have to bid right online as well. So, but there's other sources out there, auctions. You got to bid on auctions online. Right. But I got to tell you guys, if you make no offers, you got zero chance of buying a house, right, Randolph?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So what I want to talk to you about today is making traditional offers, whether it's with an individual or whether it's with a realtor, an MLS property. It could be a bank-owned property, REO, or just owned by an individual listed with a realtor. And there's several different things that when you submit your offer that you need to include in that offer. And the first thing is a cover letter, right, Randolph?
That's right.
Tell us about that. There's several different types of cover letters that you could use, maybe as an introduction or maybe to explain away why you're making such a low offer on the property. So tell me a little bit.
And that's the main thing about the cover letter is so oftentimes, ideally you're going to talk to the person you're going to make an offer with, talking to the owner, obviously you're going to talk to them before you make an offer, but a lot of times when you're talking to realtors or property that's listed on the MLS, you may not get a chance to talk to that agent. So sometimes you just have to send an offer. And a lot of times that cover letter is good to really explain that why you're making a $20,000 offer on a house that's listed for $70,000. Okay,
that's right. This is not unusual.
This is not unusual, but hey, it deserves not for us. Okay, but it deserves an explanation. And I tell you what, it's really important to kind of give them a heads up. Hey, we're investors, and this is what we do. And yes, we know our offer is low, but we pick up a lot of houses with offers that start just like this. So you want your cover letter to kind of already give a heads into why you're making a low ball offer, and that you guys look to buy a lot of houses. So it's really important to make that cover letter there.
That's absolutely right. And just to kind of expand on that a little bit, what we know is if you don't send a cover letter with an offer of $20,000 on a $70,000 listing, they're going to just hit the delete button. Okay? You've got to put that cover letter, or if they do something like they're supposed to do, then they're not even going to get a response from the seller, or it's going to be a very negative response. So just to elaborate a little bit about what Randolph said, some of the things that we say in that cover letter are something along the lines of, I understand this is a very low offer. However, from our experience, we found that we've put together many deals and had many closings that started with an offer just like this. We understand your seller is probably not going to accept this offer. However, it will get the negotiations started, and we'll be able to both come to an agreement at terms that we both can live with. So please submit it to yourself, forward to hearing from you with a counter offer. Right?
That's exactly right.
Because our goal is not to get our first offer accepted. Our goal is to get a counter offer. And that's the key right there. It just opens up the negotiating. Because let me tell you something. If your first offer is ever accepted, it was what?
Too high.
It was too high. It was too high. So another thing you can do is you can just, if you want to, if you're not able to talk to the realtor on the phone, you can send over a cover letter or just an email to a realtor just to let them know, here's who I am, here's what I do. We're looking at a few properties that you have, and we'll be sending you over an offer in the next day or so after we do some analysis on our property, because we want to give you a good solid offer. And by the way, it'll be a cash offer. We buy multiple properties every month. So you want to make sure that they know they're not dealing with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing or can't close a deal. Right, Randolph?
That's right.
That's exactly right. So another thing that you will want to do when submitting your offer is you want to have some sort of a POF, proof of funds, or a copy of a bank statement if you do send a bank statement, be sure to white out the last couple or 3 digits of the account number, okay? Because they can go in and do a check by phone and pull that money out of your account. If you write out a check and copy it for $500 to the real estate office and you fax it to them, they can do a check by phone and pull that money out. Ask me how I know, okay, right? So white out the last couple digits of it. And what we used to do and still do, we would have one check that we would blow up, and it already had written out $500. I had signed it, but then every time we would put an offer in, we would just make the check out to the different real estate agent or their office, okay? Same exact check number on every single one of them, okay? And then what we would do is, once we got the deal under contract, then we would send the real check in. So the second thing is that proof of funds or copy of a bank statement or anything like that. Do you have anything to add with that?
Yeah, one thing about the proof of funds letter, you want to be careful how it's worded. Because you're submitting an offer as a cash buyer, a lot of proof of funds letters are written in a way that is worded like it's a pre-approval, meaning you've been pre-approved and there's still conditions outstanding. You want to make sure that your letter is stating that, hey, funds are available for you to real estate.
That's right.
So, and I mean, yeah, you can find proof of funds letter almost anywhere. I mean, they're becoming a lot easier to access. I mean, you could Google proof of funds in your city and state. Proof of funds to buy real estate.
Transactional
funding is another company, another way to Google those keyword to use. And go to real estate day funding.
There you go, for a list of all the ones.
That's right. That's right. So we provide a list for those.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. The next thing you want to do is you got your either proof of funds or you've got your copy of a bank statement. You've got your cover letter. Now you want to include that, and I mentioned it earlier. You want to include like a deposit check, or not a deposit, but a copy of a check for your earnest money deposit, right? And as I mentioned earlier, that's kind of what we do. We just have one check that we've blown up, and it has my signature on it, and we just fill it in for whatever the amount, $500 or $1,000 or $500 or whatever, and then we put whoever that money is going to on that check, and we send it with that offer to purchase as well, right?
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add too, kind of backtrack a little about the proof of funds, is that you want to make a habit of getting a funds letter with showing enough money, or well above enough money to cover the amount of purchase you're going to make. In essence, let me tell you what I mean. If you're buying a house that you're going to offer $50,000 on, you don't want to get a proof of funds letter for $50,000. You want your proof of funds letter to be at least twice as much of what you're offering. And especially when you're dealing with real estate agents, their biggest concern with dealing with an investor is that, can this investor close? Do they have money? Do they have access to funds to close? So a lot of times, and I have a lot of students that are thrown by this. A lot of times the real estate agent wants to see a proof of funds letter before they even make an offer, submit your offer, or even talk to you about submitting offers. So you kind of want to have that already lined up. So if you know that in your area, you're looking at properties, and you want to be playing in the ballpark of, let's just say, $30,000 to $70,000, I would be making sure I can get a proof of funds letter for around $150,000, $200,000. Just make sure that, hey, I have the money, at least access to the money, and it's not a problem. But again, you just want to make sure that it's well enough to cover any ballpark, because that one letter is going to need to be good for at least a couple of offers. So if you're making an offer on a house for 50 and your proof of funds letter say 50, well, if you want to submit another offer with that same agent, they're like, hey, fella, you only approved for 50. Where's the other 50 coming from? So you just want to be thinking ahead when you're dealing with an agent, and make sure that your proof of funds letter is showing enough money. So,
man, that's really good info. That's really, really good. And you just want to be careful about that. Make sure you got plenty of money. And just a little thing about what Randolph said, and having 2 to 3 times or whatever. It also helps you when you're negotiating on the phone and talking to that realtor. When the realtor says, I got to have a proof of funds, I got to have a bank statement or whatever, I like to tell them, that's not a problem. That's no big deal. We can show you a bank statement that we can buy 15 or 20 of these houses. Will that be okay? I mean, in the case like Randolph just said, you could say, That's okay. That's not a problem. We can show you a proof of funds letter showing we could buy 2 or 3 of these houses.
Yeah.
So it's the same, pretty much the same thing, okay, as well.
Right.
So the next thing that you want to add with your offer when you submit an offer is your addendum, okay? And in your contract, about all of them have a little space you can write in. What we typically write in is see attached addendum A or attached addendum 1 or something like that. And on that addendum, you're going to have some clauses. What are some of the clauses that we will put in there?
You know, one of the clauses, and I would say the most important clause, is that this contract is subject to a 15-day due diligence period. And it's subject to the approval of the condition once the offer is accepted.
Right.
And we're going to have a few of these clauses, but that is the most important clause. And let me tell you why. Because in most agents, their contract already have a section for that. But you want to ask for at least 15 days, because a lot of times they're going to come back and want to give you a lot less days, like 7 days or 10 days. So you want to ask for at least 15 to give yourself time to do your due diligence, because in that period of time, and a lot of times you'll be surprised how fast that 15 days go. But in that period of time, you want to be able to send out contractors and real estate agents and confirm your numbers, because in that period of time, you got to really find out and determine whether this is a property that you're going to want to move forward on.
That's right.
And if you're not using a real estate agent's a real estate agent's contract or standard North Carolina or state contract, you want to make sure that you have a section in there to put that clause in to ensure that you have enough time.
That's right. That's right. And like in the different trainings that we do, like we wholesale a lot of properties, okay? So we basically have 2, sometimes 3 clauses, like Randolph said, subject to a 15-day due diligence period, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and approval of condition, you know, subject to an appraisal, acceptable to buyer. The third one that you can put in is the deposit's the sole remedy in the event of buyer's default.
Right.
You know, you don't typically have to do that anymore, because most of the time, especially with the bank-owned properties and the HUD properties, it's going to say right in the contract that, you know, that the seller is able to keep and retain the earnest money as their sole liquidated damages in the event of buyer's default. Okay, so it's going to say that in there. So that's just something else to keep in mind. But we wholesale properties, and we do the Filthy Riches seller finance model. There's 3 clauses that we put in there. You know, agent to provide buyer and subject to buyer's approval based on a minimum of 15 or 20 pictures, whatever. Pictures to include every repair area, all mechanical items, all 4 sides of the house, every room, a street view both ways, all that stuff, okay? So that's the other one. And agent to verify there's no outstanding code violations. You can put, because with the Filthy Riches type houses, a lot of cheap houses, you know. Agent to place buyer's sign in the window and lockbox on the door at closing, because that's another thing that you can do if you're not selling it and marketing it in advance, okay? That's another thing that you can do as well. So those are a few things, because we have a set of addendums for wholesaling, for buying and selling, and we have a set of addendums like for our Filthy Riches type model. Am I right?
That's right.
Good. Is there anything else you want to add about
that's
that?
good. That's good.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
And you guys are going to get a list of those addendums too, I think, is in the
Yeah, is that right? I think they are. I think they're gonna. That's one of the GOVs, that handouts that gives them value. A list of our addendums. Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, and it's really cool when you can set all this up. Paul, who you'll be hearing from in a little bit, Paul is our relational technologist. This guy, he's sitting right back there now. He got a haircut for this. So Paul is our relational technologist, and this guy is he's just a madman. He automates everything, and you know, you've heard all these people say there's an app for that. Well, Paul's got an app for that, you know.
Paul's our app for this.
Paul is our app, you know. He's got a way to automate just about everything. So it just blows me away. And one of the cool things is, like this new software that we have, this Bid Blaster that some of you may have heard about, you know, it automates the whole process of making offers. It automates the whole process of the 3 most important things in real estate: make offers, make offers, make offers. It's got your contracts already built in. It's got your cover letters already built in. It's got your addendums already built in. Whether you're a wholesaler or you're doing Filthy Riches or what else, you can add other addendums. You can add other contracts. You can add other cover letters. You can have it come from this realtor, from yourself, from that realtor, from a buyer's agent, to a listing agent, whatever it is. It's really, really cool. In fact, Paul's going to be demoing some of this here for you in just a little bit. So that's going to be cool, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Bill Fairman and from CarolinaHardMoney.com. And Bill is going to talk all about the different ways that you need to line up your money and be ready to make offers, make offers, make offers. So we'll be right back in just a couple.